These guys at PTR Radio just look at these basement dwellers. Two fat guys, and someone thinks he's a freaking monkey. The end is near, folks.
And now back to just a great podcast. I mean, really great bunch of guys, just the biggest and best stars on the podcast scene.
And now back to PTR Radio with Mike the Ape Man, Shaggy, and Colin. These three guys should really come with a warning label, maybe like peripheral use only.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of PTR Radio here on the fabulous interweb. And there we go. All right. Sorry, I don't know why I didn't have Colin in that shot, but I didn't. So there's Colin. So Colin is back on the show. For those of you who don't notice that Colin isn't terribly animated tonight, and who are watching us online, there's a reason for that. Colin is not feeling well, and so he is laid up and unable to join us on video this evening.
Yes, but I am here.
Yes, he is still here, though. So, that is always good. But you have myself, Shaggy, and Mike the Ape Man, as always. And, we are going to be, breaking down the NFL draft picks. So if you have we're absolutely not doing any of those things. That's just not us. So no, we're going to talk a little bit about television, movies, what's going on in the world of those, as well as some actually we've got some, I think, not really relationship questions, but we've got some interesting relationship quandaries, if you will, for tonight's show topics. None of us have relationship questions. We're all in great relationships. So, rock solid, 100%, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Everything's copacetic there. Right, Mike? Couldn't be better, right?
Correct.
It's just the ideal partner, wouldn't change a thing, till the end, right? Let's just put that out there.
On about this like there's some kind of doubt. I mean, are you trying to convince yourself here, or what's going on?
No, I'm just trying to get out in front of it.
Okay.
Just try to get out in front of it.
Well, listen. When the topics came up on the white sheet, I did talk to Mrs. Ape Man about it and said we were going to have this discussion to kind of get her input as well. And her and I are kind of on the same page with this. So,
okay, well, let's get into this one first. So we'll get into this one. So there is thanks to BuzzFeed for pointing this out. This man is not allowing his girlfriend to be a stay-at-home mom, and surprisingly, people are in his corner on this. So, as the article points out, he is a 28-year-old male. He's been dating a 29-year-old. We'll say her name is Amy for the sake of this argument, since May of 2022. Now, she has 2 children from a previous relationship that are 7. Now, here's where it gets here's where the quandary comes in. Amy and the guy were dating and starting to discuss moving in together and how that would work out with children. All right, which is anytime you date somebody with kids, you have to get into those conversations. It's not just the 2 of you anymore, right? Things didn't seem to be a problem until she asked if we could find a place where I could afford to pay rent on my own in case she became a stay-at-home mom. Confused, he asked why she would become a stay-at-home mom when the 2 of them weren't planning on having more kids. He had had a vasectomy 2 years prior. She said it's always been a dream of hers to be a stay-at-home mom, and the boys will benefit from having her home. She said she knows it'll be a lot for him to take on, but she would appreciate if they could talk about it and possibly make it happen as soon as they move in together. Okay, they'd only been dating a year, looking at moving in together already.
Yeah, so before we move on to phase 2, or before we take it to DEF CON 2 on this one, right? because we're at this point. I'm at DEFCON 3, right? DEFCON 5, everything's all right. You start dating. DEFCON 4, maybe you move because she's got 2 kids, depending on how the kids are. DEFCON 3, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Well, your kids are already pretty old, so I'm not sure, and there ain't going to be no more kids. So before we take it to DEFCON, before we take it any further,
You figure at that point the kids are in 2nd grade.
yeah. The stay-at-home mom portion of your life has pretty much passed.
Well, I mean, the question is, what do you do during the school hours? You know?
Well, yeah. So, now
Are you
if it
Peggy
was
Bundying
me,
it up or what? I mean, you know?
my initial thought would be, yeah, I want to get a place that I can afford by myself because if you wind up being crazy, I can kick you out and not have to move.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's always, you know, the thought is, hey, listen, I don't want to have to worry about, you know, I have to find a new place and you have to find a new place. So we're saddled together until, you know, out of financial, you know, necessity until, you know, both of us can, or somebody's left in the lurch. You don't want that, you know,
Right.
but, yeah, but just so that you can stay at home and maybe cook and clean and while the kids are at school.
It's always been a dream of mine to be a stay-at-home mom. Well, it's always been a dream of mine to be Superman.
Yeah, I would like to be an astronaut, but I don't see that happening at this point.
So let us move to what brings this to
Yes.
DEFCON 1.
Now he told her he wasn't comfortable with the idea of being the sole breadwinner for their soon-to-be 4-person household. He also brought up the point that the boys are in school most of the day, and although he agreed that children will benefit from a parent being available 24/7, he doesn't think it's really a necessity. So, seeming to agree, she said, "Okay, that's fine," and they moved on. However, a week later, he got a call from Amy's mom. All right. Now, for all we know, she may or may not have it going on. We just are not sure the status of her going on. All right. Her mom started the conversation sweet enough, but before getting to the point, she asked why he decided to date a single mother if he was not willing to step up for her and her kids. Okay, that's a loaded statement right there, because I would have probably stopped the conversation dead right there and said, "What are you talking about, Willis?" You know.
So, where the baby daddy?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever been established here. Like, oh, if you're okay, it's a caption here. If you're curious, the children's father is quote unquote broke and lives halfway across the country, but isn't a bad person. He couldn't pay child support if he wanted to, given he can barely take care of himself financially. He also has a lot of health issues that make it difficult for him to work. He calls the kids quite a lot and is as involved as one can be in his situation. She makes enough, Amy, makes enough to take care of herself and her kids, so it's been all right for them financially. Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm. She should continue that trend. Because
suddenly,
how does she know it's not going to work out?
Suddenly, I would be all, oh, God, my neck. I have to go on disability, and you'll have to support us both, all 4 of us now. How's that work? Flip the script.
Mm-hmm. You know,
right,
the guy
mom
told
involved to me is like that's the last straw.
That's like the nuclear option. It's to you know. He cut the call short after she added that he was being stingy with his money and not willing to sacrifice for her. No. You know, after the phone call, Amy said she just needed someone to vent about the situation to, and her mom had her best interest in heart. She thought it would be better for me to get her mom's perspective. I asked if it was going to be okay to go tell my mom that my girlfriend was asking me to bankroll her and her children's lives. She said I'm taking it too personally, and I should have expected things not to go great after our discussion. Well, I think things are going wonderful now. Now that you've involved the mom, I think everything's just gone peachy, don't you? This has really de-escalated the situation. Looking into my crystal ball, I see them not moving in together. and her dreams of being a stay-at-home mom going up in smoke with this particular man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when you bring in the possible future mother-in-law, you're like, okay, maybe the possible future mother-in-law took it on herself, because yes, her venting to her mom is a perfectly good thing. The mom then calling him, that's not such a good thing. Her knowing that her mom was going to call him and thought that was good for a different perspective, that's just crazy talk.
This is like Ray and Marie Barone situation happening in real life. Like, mom should not be getting that involved.
No.
Especially, okay, mom, maybe you get involved if you're married. Maybe you expect them to get involved. Not dating and potentially
for a year,
making a big move
dating
to move in together.
Dating a year. The only way mom should only be getting involved going, hey, when are you going to put a ring on that? That would be the extent of mom's involvement. You know, that's what mom should be worried about, not you bankrolling her daughter and children and grandchildren.
No.
So here are some of the comments. As I said, a lot of people were on his side. The Violet Hour writing, she trying to use you. Don't move in and move on ASAP. Key Recipe saying, drop her like a flaming turd. Someone says, my time machine works. It's apparently the 90s again, and a decade that a single income could provide the necessary cash you need for 4 people.
Yeah, I'm liking this one. Old Witch 1982 says, she may as well have a neon sign over her head saying, who wants to pay for me and my kids forever? She's out of her gourd. And her mother, oh my God, dude, run fast AF for the hills. NTA, end this now.
Yeah.
As I have told many friends when in relationships, when things went really bad, dude, cancel the bitch.
Yeah. This person says, you are in danger of becoming a patsy and an ATM. Oh. Yeah.
Hello. Here are your balls. You can see them on Saturdays.
But I'm not letting you leave your house like that. So, you know.
Well, that's the other thing. Mom's getting involved like this now before you're even living together. Wait until you're living together. What happens then? You have just given mom carte blanche to interfere in your life.
She makes,
You're going to be getting opinions all the time. She's going to be standing over you when you consummate on the honeymoon, telling you what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, it's just...
I didn't read through the comments here really, but was anybody defending her?
I'm looking at the Reddit comments and I don't see a single person that is, the most positive thing towards her is she should marry the man who fathered her children. That's the most positive thing that I have seen.
Well, okay, I will go negative on him and say that he really should answer the question that her mom asked him, which is, why was he dating her?
Yeah.
I mean, he got a vasectomy 2 years ago. That tells you he doesn't want kids.
Well, he may not want any of his own, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't want to, he isn't opposed to being around them.
Whoa. Hang on. We're assuming that the OP doesn't have kids from a previous relationship.
They weren't mentioned in the story. Let's put it that way.
So
Here-
it's possible he has kids, or it's even possible that there is a medical reason, genetic medical reason, that he did not want to reproduce.
Yeah.
So there are viable reasons.
There was a
That
solution.
part I get.
Someone did put a solution which would solve all this. If she wants to be around the kids, then she should get a job at their school. Boom, problem solved.
Yeah. No, but no, the reason I said that is because that is a piece missing from the story. What is his thing? Is he looking for instant family, or is it, well, he really liked her and he was dealing with the kids?
Well, see, here's the thing. She took it from like 0 to 100 real quick.
Oh, she did, yeah. Which is why you keep her away.
Oh, yeah. So if you dating a single mom, okay, leaving everything else out of this, you date a single mom, you know what you're getting into as far as you're going to have to deal with kids in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But that is on her terms. So, most single moms that I knew in the past were not quick to bring a guy around because they didn't want to mess with the kid's head.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to.
These days, I have no freaking idea. I mean, I see it completely different with the new generation. But
You haven't been dating too many single moms lately, Mike?
no, have not. Nope, don't want to. Sorry, don't want to date because I love my wife. And not to mention, most of the single moms that I have been around lately, I'm ready to see if I can give out Adderall for Halloween because these kids friggin' need it. Anyhow, the assumption that you're going to bankroll their lifestyle, that's where that's the issue here. And I hate to sound like a cheap bastard. Like I would understand, okay, we're going to move in together. Let's figure this out. We'll get a place. And like I said in the beginning, I would find a place that I could pay for the rent myself. This way, if it did go south, her name's not on the lease. Get out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Nobody said that your kids were going to come live with, well, I guess if she's a single mom and the kids are going to have to come live with them anyway, but be like, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get this place. And let's see how we do if you come and stay for a little bit before we commit. Maybe that's the compromise. And
let's do a trial run,
But then when mom opened her mouth, I'd be like, sorry, you got to go. You's got to go. It'd be cheaper for me to just go to the strip club and meet the single moms there and then go home when I'm done.
Well, and it's good because they're only working their way through med school. So they want a career afterwards.
Well, it's one of two paths. Either they're going to med school or they're trying to work their way up to bartender.
Yeah.
And the ones that are trying to work their way up to bartender, well, in New Jersey, there's actually a third path, which is I'm trying to get my green card. But we won't go there.
Oh. Now, speaking of interesting things in New Jersey.
Okay, hold on.
What?
Hold on.
Go ahead. I once had a live-in girlfriend for 3 years. I gave up dating 4 years ago. Life is so less dramatic. Oh, let's see here. Oh, hell no, I ain't stepping in that dating doo-doo. My ex makes me look smart. Well, that is a lot of work. So Mike, a group of non-Americans gave their first impression of what each U.S. state is, or what each U.S. state might look like. And funny enough, New Jersey is one of the first, I don't know, pictorials, if you want to call it that. But the the view on New Jersey is unique, and I'm not sure if you share their opinion of what New Jersey man looks like. People who eat spaghetti, eat pasta, and watch The Sopranos.
Well, so here's the thing. It could be worse because, Jersey Shore.
Mm-hmm.
Do we eat a lot of pasta here in Jersey? Yeah, I guess maybe we do. Did we watch The Sopranos? Yes, we did. And we're glad everybody else watched The Sopranos too, because, well, all I had to do when I had to travel for training out of state was say, "Yeah, I'm Mike. I'm from Jersey," and they were like, "Okay, you pass. Don't kill me. You pass."
So from Florida, they think that everyone looks like this and is into gators, which is a unique view. They look like a chubby.
That's not how I see Florida people.
Chubby
but, okay.
Shaggy Rogers. Okay.
Yeah. I see Florida people being thinner because it's so hot there. It's kind of hard to be that big.
Georgia seems like a place where the politics are changing a lot based on the cultural clash of urban, suburban, and rural areas, and boasts a long, vibrant history of the arts from Ray Charles to Migos. I don't know how this got so much different than the first two.
Okay, I am going to tell you why. Because in Europe, when they look up Georgia, most of the time they're thinking they're going to find something in the former Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And then that makes they get drawn in by the misdirection of the Google search.
True. And obviously the only thing they see is peach farming.
Farming, and well, Atlanta is the Black Hollywood.
So
Tyler Perry said that. Okay. Don't go twisting it. It's been said.
So yeah. So very nothing. So very just a couple of interesting ones there. I don't think that that particular article didn't have everything, but
I'd be curious.
What they have for Illinois?
I don't see anything for Illinois specifically on their thing.
Well,
it's very, very. Yeah, I don't see anything in particular for Illinois on their list here. So, but yeah, I saw the New Jersey one and I wanted Mike's opinion on that one. So,
hey, listen, like I said, at least it's not Jersey Shore.
Yeah,
we don't all look like Snooki and the Situation, although I wouldn't, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing but we don't all look bald with tomato stains on our shirt either. So
no, sometimes they wear a bib.
Yep,
so it's okay
because we're smart about that.
Yeah. So yeah. Mike, you want to go into this one about the destination wedding that you posted?
All right, so
because destination weddings never were a thing, a while ago. I feel like it's only since maybe since the 2000s and maybe after that destination wedding became a thing. I never remember them early on.
I mean, I recall people going to like the Caribbean to get married or Niagara Falls or Vegas. And usually the idea is you're going away with a small, intimate group of people. And that is, it's going to be a vacation / wedding gift for, people just coming is enough. So here is a father. His wife and his daughter are giving him the silent treatment because he refused to pay for a destination wedding to New Zealand at a price tag of $200,000.
Oof. That's a house.
So let me stop for a second. Destination wedding or not, $200,000 for a wedding is insane.
Mm-hmm.
When people tell me, "Oh, well, I'm budgeting 50 or 60,000 for my wedding," I think you're insane for that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, when
I think
when we used to be watching like Say Yes to the Dress or something, and they say, "What's your budget?" and the woman would say 10 grand or more, I'm like,
For a dress.
you're gonna wear once. You know,
the best is when, "Oh, well, I need the ceremony dress and the cocktail hour dress
there was
because I can't dance in my ceremony dress, so it's 10,000 each dress." I'm like, dude, those two dresses cost more than my entire wedding.
yeah.
So here's the twist. Apparently, he can afford to pay for this, but based on principle, he will not.
I don't blame him.
They're from New York. His wife says they should do it because they can afford it, but he says it's a pointless showing of wealth. I love this man already.
Yeah, I wonder what he does for a living.
Should I bite the bullet and essentially burn money and alienate family members to make my daughter's dream wedding a reality? Forgot to mention, okay, so that's not counting what guests would have to pay to come. So it's 200 grand. They're in New York. Flights to New Zealand are easily a couple grand between flights and hotel.
Oh, she's not asking for what it would take for guests to come out. That's just for the wedding, yeah.
Yeah. So this is not taking into account what people would have to shell out to attend the wedding.
Yeah.
Then what the heck are they paying for?
He answered more questions in the comments. When asked if he'd feel differently paying the same price but at home in New York, he replied, "If the wedding was 200,000 in New York, no." So he wouldn't feel any different. Many commenters said he had to admit it was his fault for raising a spoiled, entitled child. Perhaps. Now, he said, "I admit she had a privileged life. I grew up poor and experienced a lot of hardship. I did not want her to experience that. I wanted to give her every experience I was not able to have. I agree. I effed up in that regard. The amount itself is not what gets me. If she asked for 200K for a house or something, I would do that in a heartbeat."
Mm-hmm.
So he understands that he created this situation. But I get what he's saying. Somebody did comment, "As someone who lives in New Zealand, I can honestly say that this $200,000 budget will absolutely skyrocket. Everything is expensive in New Zealand. Food, accommodation, domestic flights, gas. It will be much more expensive than even your daughter can imagine. And as soon as you say the word wedding, costs increase at venues with caterers with accommodation." So good to know that that's not just an American thing. Because I can rent a hall for a brunch on a Sunday for $50 a person. But the minute you say it's a wedding, it's $200 a person.
The average wedding cost in New Zealand, anybody want to guess?
500,000.
Boy, you went high. A little high. The average wedding cost $32,000.
Oh, okay.
Is that U.S. dollars or New Zealand dollars?
I think that's U.S. dollars. I don't know. It's a dollar sign, so I don't know.
Mama Blair says, "In my experience, the more the cost of the wedding, the shorter time the marriage lasts." Well, Kim Kardashian might agree with you.
Boy, it would be funny if there was a study that said that. You know.
So
New Zealand is an island in the middle of nowhere, which means anything you want for the wedding has to be flown in. So it's not surprising it's so expensive.
So just for the record, so 35,000. Let me see.
Oh, you know what? There was a study that
35,000 New Zealand dollars is 20,400 US dollars.
Oh, okay. By the way,
So if she's asking for 200,000 US dollars, that wedding is going to cost 343,000
New
New
Zealand
Zealand
bucks.
dollars.
By the way, there was a study that looked at the cost of a wedding compared to the likelihood of divorce. Andrew Francis and Hugo Mylan, two economics professors from Emory University, surveyed more than 3,000 people in the study and found that it is true. The more expensive a wedding is, the sooner the couple is likely to divorce. It's actually
Okay.
statistical fact.
Would you like me to explain to you in ape-man logic why that is?
Because you have a extremely needy either one person or other person or two people.
No. It's because when you have a lower cost wedding and because you don't really have the money, like you're cutting corners, you're being very frugal, you're not well off, so to speak. Divorce is more expensive.
So you're saying people stay together because they can't afford to split up?
If you don't have financial viability and flexibility, you are a lot more tolerant of a lot of shit. That's my experience. Because I've seen some very poor couples, like couples that were living check to check, and they put up with some ridiculous amount of bullshit from each other. Like stuff that I looked at and I'd be like, I would smother you in your sleep and happily go to prison because the bed would be more comfortable.
So you're saying that's exactly why Al and Peggy Bundy stayed married, because she married just a shoe salesman who barely made enough to get by?
Yeah, for the most part, and the ratings were still up.
Yep.
The more you can afford to spend on a wedding, like kind of like what this dad was saying, right?
More likelihood you can afford a
it's
divorce
flaunting.
retainer. Okay.
Well, yeah.
No, it's flaunting. You're right.
It is.
Is the wedding for your love, or is your wedding to show off?
Oh, absolutely. No. I mean, and that's all that the dress is a lot of times too. And the venue and everything else. It's like, how much do I want to show off? How much do I want to beat the Joneses, and that kind of stuff? Because, like, especially if you're the last in your friend group to get married, well, you want to do it bigger and better than everybody else did,
So it's not just that, but the mentality of the younger generation is you have to go big. You have to be a spectacle. Yeah. You have to have certain things. You have to be name brand. You have to have this and that. You want people talking about this shit. You want everyone tagging you on Instagram. Me, I'm just like, dude, open bar. We got a damn luge that the bartender is coming out with the bottles and pouring drinks down people's throats. Okay. Everybody had a good time at my wedding. Yeah, that's all I care about.
This is the generation that grew up with the My $1 Million Sweet 16, show or whatever it was.
Well, it's not just, that's one of them, but even like Housewives and Kardashians and all of these reality shows that show all of these things, like dancing on clouds. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Dry ice machine.
The cloud machine.
The cloud machine. That was not a thing until that was just becoming a thing when Kim and I got married.
The massive balloon release, from the ceiling. And, no.
But, oh, my God, did you see that they did on the Housewives when they got married? They literally had starfish dropped from the ceiling that were covered in glitter. And so we have to have that now. That's got to be part of our wedding. But instead, we're going to do seahorses because we're androgynous. And so we're seahorses. So everyone will be covered with seahorses. That's the theme.
That's the I don't think
Because
that's,
we have to do better than the Real Housewives of Yonkers.
I'm not sure you really
I
want
mean-
to do that impression for that, but okay. If you just said we needed to have the hugest, biggest, bestest wedding, that would have been a step too far. But yeah, no, I agree. It's just and I mean, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. And you know what? I bet the mom doesn't work because she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So she's not contributing to the $200,000.
Okay, so I'm going to. All right, let's go ahead and just
My designer dress cost $100 from the sales rack. We had 200 guests who got mints and nuts and punch. A friend did our photography. The wedding cost $300 total. Next year we celebrate our 50th. Case closed. That's right. You know.
Oh, that's not the best thing. That wedding dress got reused
Well, yeah.
for another wedding. I believe is the story on that. So,
But you know, we
not
didn't
her
even,
wedding, of course.
we didn't have a real wedding ceremony because we just went to the courthouse and then we had a few people back to our house. And I bought a cake from a local like cake store. It was just like a sheet cake. We didn't have tiers or any of that stuff. So, you know, and I've helped. Hell, we've catered our own, people's weddings, and is like, okay, well, they wanted cupcakes or they wanted like a buffet, like with pulled pork and stuff like that. So, I mean, we didn't do fancy weddings. I mean, not to say that they were cheap, but they weren't the most expensive thing either. But yeah, actually, I do think that so far, the only one that ended in divorce was probably the most expensive wedding that we did. But I don't think that was the wedding's fault. But that was anyway.
So without going into too much detail, I do recall my stepbrother when he got married. I was not invited. I don't care. Wouldn't have gone anyway. It was in Manhattan, and my mother and stepfather went on and on about how it was so amazing and all of the black tie and all of that. And a year later, they got divorced, and her parents who paid for the wedding actually wound up declaring bankruptcy not long after the wedding.
Oof.
So I kind of laugh about that one. And you talk about Amy's mom was probably a stay-at-home mom, and that's why she wanted to be one. I guess I can talk about this one, but my ex, her aunts were both stay-at-home moms with kids. And she had this idea, unbeknownst to me, that the minute that we got married, she was going to have kids and she was going to be a stay-at-home mom. This was never discussed. I found this out when she eventually did get married, because that's exactly how it played out to her now ex-husband. So the expectations can easily be there.
Yeah.
Very easily be set by family.
Well, see, and it doesn't always have to be they did have a the couple we talked about before. They had a conversation about it. And it doesn't always have to be, I mean, conversations need to happen, and they thought they came to a decision. It's like, when my wife and I got together, so I had a daughter from a previous relationship. She had two boys from another relationship, but she was working at the time. Before, she had run like a daycare out of her house, and she'd done other stuff, but she was working. I was working. So when we came together, it was two working people. But then it got to the point where it was like, all right, well, now we've got kids that we do need to get back and forth to school and back and forth to all this other stuff. And she wasn't making that much, in the grand scheme of things. And so we had several conversations. It wasn't one conversation. It was like, okay, well, listen, what can we do? Do you go down to working part-time, or so that you could so that you could get the kids back and forth to where they need to go or whatever. And so at the same time, her parents were starting to go downhill and some other stuff was going on. So we made the decision together for her to just quit her job. It was also extremely stressful on her, the job that she was in. So it was like a quality of life thing for her. And so, you know, but it was a decision that was made together. Both her and I were involved in it, and we both agreed and we knew what we were getting into. And I willingly took on the responsibility of that. In the article we talked about earlier, the guy straight up said, listen, the stress that it would put on me is extremely high to try and support 4 people on my income, you know, and it is. There's a lot of stress when you take on that kind of responsibility. So you better be ready for it, and you better not, you know, regret it later on. So, you know, and in my scenario, everything worked out great. And, you know, I wouldn't have, as I told my daughter the other day, I'm like, I wouldn't have changed anything for the world of the way that things had happened. You know, but it's got to be a conversation that happens. You got to have that channel of communications. So.
Yeah, that was the thing about that. I mean, we look at, you say, maybe there is a guy who wanted what I said, the instant family, and had a good job and could afford that, and that's what he was actually looking for. And it was known, you know, very early in a relationship that that's what they were both looking for. That's perfectly fine. Unfortunately, that person, you know, that if she had been with that guy, maybe he wouldn't have found out how absolutely terrible the mother-in-law was going to end up being.
Yeah.
So, you know, oops. But, you know, still, there's nothing wrong with the actual situation itself.
No.
It's just everybody has to be upfront what's going on, and nobody should be guilting each other over not wanting what the other one is looking for.
Yeah, just like
you're with the wrong person.
Just like this dad trying to be guilted into this huge wedding. I mean, that is not a way to get what you want, is to try and guilt somebody into that. So, speaking about things people don't want, so we have not done our celebrity death pool for a while now. Ever since COVID was around, we didn't. But that doesn't mean that we haven't been keeping an eye on celebrities passing and things like that. And recently, Richard Mole from Night Court passed away at age 80. You know, and then just this week, Matthew Perry passed away from Friends. So, you know, a couple of television, you know, I won't say Bull Shannon was a television icon character, but definitely recognizable, and people who grew up in the 80s and 90s were well aware of that, you know, that role.
So just this month, the month of October, we lost Dick Butkus.
Mm-hmm.
We lost Burt Young, who's known as Paulie from the Rocky movies. We lost Suzanne Summers. We lost Richard Roundtree, who played Shaft in the 70s.
And for those that don't know, Dick Butkus was in Webster.
No.
No? Oh, that was a different Butkus.
That was Alex Cardos?
Okay. Yeah, so it was Mongo from Blazing Saddles. No, you're thinking of My Two Dads.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, sorry.
What?
Yeah. He ran the pizza place downstairs, is that right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Really? Why do I not remember this?
Dick Butkus. I think he did have a guest shot on Webster, though, at one point. Let's see here. Well, he was in Murder, She Wrote. He was in Night Court. He was in Matlock. He was in Growing Pains, Kate and Allie, My Two Dads, Gremlins 2, The New Batch.
Yes, I just watched that this weekend, actually.
Necessary Roughness. He was one of the convict football players.
Yes.
He did a episode of MacGyver. He was in The Last Boy Scout. He was in
the TV adaptation of Blue Thunder.
You know?
Oh yeah, he was.
I mean,
He was in the
So
Bernie
he was
Mac
in-
show.
yeah, he wasn't a lot.
But-
I did not realize that he had that part in My Two Dads.
Yeah, that's because he was. That was his longest full time part. But I guess we should say he started off as a Chicago Bear. He was
Yes.
well known as the kind of defender who would take people's heads off.
Well, yeah, that was the
But was a
bad.
nice guy.
That was the you know the mean bears, time period.
Well, the mean NFL. It was everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
The era was it was a successful game. We took out 3 of their quarterbacks.
That was,
Well, hang on a second. He was also in a TV show. So he was in, where is it? 27 episodes of My Two Dads.
yep.
He was in a show called Hang Time that he was in 52 episodes. The hell was Hang
Never
Time?
heard
I
of
don't
it.
know.
Hang time. 7 teenagers, 3 girls and 4 boys try to make it through life as members of the Deering High School basketball team.
And he was the coach.
He was the coach. They had several coaches though, but yes.
Anthony Anderson was in this. Jay Hernandez was in this. Wow. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry. We got sidetracked there because we were talking about
Because we were talking about
other
Dick
celebrity
Butkus.
deaths. But
So
yes, I have still been tracking. The database has been. We're maintaining the database. I don't know if we're ever going to bring the death pool back. But in the event that we do, the database is being maintained.
yep.
I still don't know if I still have not been able to find an actual birth date for Melissa Conson Young, who that one jackass picked.
But yeah.
One time in 2019.
But we may have to refactor if we do that again and go up based off, because we were going based off of the oldest person. But maybe we should revamp that to be dog years, because the world's oldest dog just recently passed away. Mike,
That was. I understand the segue, but absolutely not, and that was horrible. Yes, a 31-year-old dog.
and
31.
when I saw the picture of this dog, I was shocked because I was picturing like some little dog, because little dogs just live longer than big dogs. I mean, it's just typically they do.
Yeah.
Big dogs
Yeah.
just normally have, heart problems or liver problems or whatever. I mean, it's just, there's a lot going on in a big dog. Not to say there isn't a lot going on in a little dog, but little dogs just seem to.
Yeah. So this dog basically looks kind of like a Labrador-ish, but it's a Portuguese breed.
Mm-hmm.
Lives on a farm with 4 cats and his owners. I mean, 31 years old. The breed itself is typically only known for a lifespan of about 14 or 15 years. 31. I saw this article and said to my wife, I said, let me explain something. You realize that some of these cats that really don't like me are going to live to be like 30, 35.
Yeah. I was joking with a coworker, and because he said he had played around with the idea of getting a pet, but right now he doesn't live by himself, so it's not really an option. And I said, well, when you do, I highly recommend something like a turtle, like maybe a tortoise, or some type of a parrot, maybe,
No
birds.
No, because they live forever. I was really just messing with him. Because some parrots can live like 80 years.
Parrots, some of these purebred parrots, like conures and what have you, a good, responsible breeder is going to make part of the adoption contract that you have to update your will. You have to tell them who the bird will be left in care of when you die.
Oh, we were having fun with it because we said he should get a parrot and a tortoise, one of those big ones, that you just see lumbering around that reminds you of the dinosaurs because they live for 100 years.
Colin, since we can't see you, I'm just going to do it for you.
And I said it'd be great because he could ride the tortoise around with the parrot on his shoulder, and then he could do Tic Tacs, and he could and Insta videos, and we could name the tortoise Doug, and it could be David and Doug.
No, now you're just getting a little crazy. Your blood sugar must be low. What you do is you get him a snake. Snake is ideal for people that aren't home a lot because you feed them a mouse once every other week, and then that's it. You don't have to worry about feeding and watering. You just got to make sure that their heat lamp is on the timer. That's it.
I don't know that he's a snake kind of guy.
Well, then he shouldn't have a pet.
No.
So, if you're not a snake guy, you shouldn't have a pet. Is that your rule?
Well, this friend, yeah,
it's a snake or nothing.
For the purposes of this conversation, yes.
Okay.
So back to this dog. what I would love to know is, what was the dog like as a puppy? What did he take a long? Because something I read was the reason why bigger dogs die so fast is because they have to grow so quickly as a puppy. So I'd be really interested to know, did this 31-year-old dog have an extended puppy period where where it grew more slowly than usual?
That's interesting. That's possible. I'd be curious to learn more about this breed. And part of it may also be because of the diet, because he said he pretty much eats what we eat. So if you're feeding him lean human grade food with no preservatives or anything, the dog was probably a lot healthier. Not saying that dog food here is bad, and I'm not advising to start feeding a raw food or some kind of diet like that, because I don't know about that raw diet stuff. That got a friend of ours who does that for her pets, and she gets freeze-dried chicken feet for the cats and tosses them to cats gnawing on chicken feet. I'm like, oh.
Now, let me ask you this, Mike. Do you give your dogs tap water?
So interestingly enough, here we do in this house, at home. When we went up to see my father-in-law up in Maine, we brought bottled water for them because they have well water up there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, their stomachs wouldn't be used to it, right? I'll drink. He's got a Brita filter, so I would drink water from the Brita filter. We use the Brita filter for the coffee, what have you. But we wouldn't. Even that, Kim was like, "No, we'll just give them bottled water because we don't want anybody to have any upset belly on a 10-hour drive."
No, that's probably not a good idea. Because we just got a new puppy, and I don't know. Have I shared pictures with you guys about the puppy? Not yet. Okay. So, let me see if I can pull one up here real quick. So there's the puppy.
Okay.
So we were told, don't give them dog food ever. Always make them homegrown food, chicken mostly, but don't give them rice. Rice is bad for them. No tap water, only bottled water, and all these other lists of things. And I'm like, all right, we'll tell the lady yes, and then we'll come home with the dog, and we'll take the dog to the vet and ask the vet if she's ever heard of all of these strange, silly rules that the lady told us. And yeah. My wife has like a bunch of different text messages from this lady, and it's like I've never heard of some of this stuff in all my years. Never put a collar on the dog. Don't put a collar on the dog. Why not? What's wrong with the collar? Well, to choke him. Only if you tighten it down or put a leash to the collar, which I don't, because my dogs that I put a leash on, they have a harness. You know.
We should
And
probably
don't you know
go to
that
the
bottled
movie
water
review.
is actually tap water?
Yeah. So, all right. But, yeah, it is time for the movie review. I keep forgetting we're only doing an hour. So, for this evening, we looked at the Netflix original, The Machine, starring Mark Hamill and Bert Kreischer. So, by the look on Mike's face, it's just I'm curious to see what his reaction is. But Colin, we are going to start with you. If you can tell
No.
What?
We're doing this. This is the new format. So you're giving, and then we're going to piggyback.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. So, I had been interested in this movie for a while. So, Bert Kreischer, funny comedian. If you've ever watched him, you have seen him shirtless more often than not. The movie is based around one of his famous skits that talks about him being a exchange student, and then getting drunk on a train and robbing everyone on the train and getting mixed up with the Russian mafia. Well, the movie is all about how that story is true and how then the Russian mafia wants something out of it, and something that he stole back. So it's basically an adventure film with Mark Hamill and Bert Kreischer, being held at gunpoint by different groups of the Russian mafia, I'll say, because there's like a brother, there's a sister, two brothers at least. I don't know how many other people are in this stupid family. But then there's constant flashbacks to when Bert was the exchange student. And so if you like a weird comedy with a bunch of flashbacks thrown in there for comedic effect, I think you will enjoy this movie. But it's definitely not everybody's cup of tea. There's a lot of swearing. There's drug use. There is just a bit of over-the-top acting because that's just Bert being Bert. And so it's just like this bad, almost road trip type thing going on, trying to get back this watch. And so, like I said, this had come up in my algorithm a bunch, and so I finally watched it, and then I thought after I watched it, I'm like, the guys have to watch this, and I have to know what their thoughts are. So, did I miss anything in the synopsis of the movie? Without giving too much away of it?
The opening of the movie does touch on like his family relationship and how screwed up that is, to the point where he's actually in therapy because of his time as the Machine. Yeah.
And I believe some of the, I believe quite a bit of that is based in truth.
Well, it gets very meta at this point. Like, you don't know where the comedy begins and where the act begins and ends. You don't know where how much is based in real life, except for the fact that, Mark Hamill isn't really his dad. So I got to tell you, I never watched his stand-up. Mainly because the dude being shirtless during his stand-up routine, I'm like, what the hell kind of gimmick is this? You don't even have like anything painted on yourself or nothing. You just, you're there. This is like, I watched the movie. I had minimal comments. I'm just sitting there watching like, well, maybe if I watched his stand-up, I would understand this more. I'd be more inclined to be more interested in this. And then Vanya, the brother, throws a dog out the window. I lost my mind. I lost my damn mind. He threw a Yorkie out the window, and I started dropping F-bombs at the screen like you wouldn't believe. And somehow, even though they were on the 4th floor of this building over the square in Moscow, the dog is alive, biting Bert as he's getting into the car. So, okay, I take back the quadruple F-bomb with the double Lutz that I threw just a few minutes ago. The fact that this dude is like instead of spinach, spinach is to Popeye as vodka is to Bert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shaggy, what did you wind up giving this?
So I gave this a smile.
Okay.
I thought there was a lot of good interplay between Mark Hamill and Bert Kreischer in this. I liked that dynamic. And for those that are curious, Mark Hamill plays his dad in this movie. So, and especially when Mark Hamill's sitting there taking lines of coke and talking about having sex with a Russian prostitute, that Mark Hamill is very fun sometimes in the roles that he decides to take. So
Mark Hamill is always fun, whatever roles he takes. So, for the record, I'm giving Smirk just because of Mark Hamill. And also, I'm going to say Bert Kreischer is definitely the 3rd best actor to ever play Bert Kreischer.
Okay. Please give me 1 and 2.
Well, 2 is the guy who plays the young Bert Kreischer in this movie. And 1, I think we could all agree. This is not just the. Okay, I'm just going to say best actor who played him. Maybe not best actor playing him, but definitely the best actor. Ryan Reynolds.
Did Ryan Reynolds play Bert Kreischer, or he just
No,
could
but
play Bert Kreischer?
But Ryan Reynolds played a better shape, privileged Bert Kreischer as Van Wilder.
Oh, okay.
Because the script for Van Wilder was originally supposed to be his story, but it took too long to get the movie made, and they ended up losing the rights for Bert Kreischer's life story. But they still had the script laying around, so they decided to redo it by renaming him Van Wilder.
Okay.
But Van Wilder is actually the Bert Kreischer story.
Okay. Well, I also, and Colin, I agree with you. I gave it a smirk. I gave it the benefit of the doubt that if you were a fan of his stand-up, that you might be more drawn in. The same way, if you were a fan of Tim Allen's stand-up, you might be more drawn into Home Improvement, or Jerry Seinfeld stand-up, you might be into Seinfeld. That type of relationship. Now, if Tim Allen had decided to make an action movie based on his stand-up, it would be Das Machine Part 2.
No, because to my knowledge, Bert never smuggled cocaine from Mexico.
That's in the sequel.
Okay. All right.
And it wasn't him, it was his dad.
All right.
That's why the pocket knife was so important, because that's what he used to use to sample la cocaína when you cut it in it. Okay, off the blade.
Okay, got it.
All right, just so you know. What I probably wouldn't have watched this if you hadn't suggested it. The rewatchability of it. If you're a fan of Mark Hamill, I think, Colin, you hit it on the head. If you're a fan of Mark Hamill, you probably would like this movie as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to see more dealings with the family, with his wife and daughter. I felt like that was almost wasted. But anywho.
Okay, so we've got to watch. So we've got another one that we've got to pick for next week, or for the next show. Do we know what that is yet?
Well, we've got 13 on here. Well, I would say 12 because there's one on here. Gentlemen, there's a movie on here, a Diane Keaton movie called Palms, P-O-M-S.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to make a motion to remove that from the list because that does have somewhat of a depressing theme to it. I've watched this movie.
Okay.
Can
Motion carried.
Can I get a consensus? Motion carried. Okay.
I'm good with that.
All right, so we've got 12 movies on the list right now.
Okay, number 7.
Number 7. Well, Shaggy, you may be up to bat again
Uh-oh.
with the summary because they cloned Tyrone.
Oh!
Which I believe you pretty much wanted on this list. So,
all right, the Jamie Foxx, John Boyega film, They Cloned Tyrone, with Kiefer Sutherland and David Alan Grier.
Kiefer Sutherland is in this? Okay.
Yes, he is. I don't know if he plays a huge part, but he is listed in the cast.
All right, so for future reference, on the review, the ratings record sheet, going forward, I will boldface the rating of the person who gave the summary judgment.
Okay. Sounds good. Okie dokie. Well, and with that said, we are going to be back on the 13th, according to the calendar.
Which is good because that's the week before Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So we will be able to tell you what our plans are and if they actually worked out.
Yes. And if you want to text into the show or write into the show, you can reach out to us on all of our social media channels. And if you are planning on ruining Thanksgiving, let us know how you're planning on ruining Thanksgiving. And we will read those anonymously out. I would be very curious to see if anyone has any major announcements that might ruin Thanksgiving, for the next show. So maybe any major announcements or, anything like that. Let us know. We'll let you know what we think of them. And then, of course, we'll want updates after Thanksgiving on how it went. So, but otherwise, don't forget to check out the show's webpage, ptrradio.com, as well as all of our social media links. You can find them through all the regular channels at PTR Radio on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Well, not LinkedIn. Sorry, we're not a business. But, everywhere else that you could, Threads, all the fun places. And then also, don't forget that we are now on Twitch. You can follow us there. And who knows? You may see us gaming sooner than you think.
Are we on Kick also?
We are on Kick also.
Okay.
So you can also follow us there. Basically, there's no excuse not for seeing us somewhere. And we really need your help to help spread the word about the show. So don't forget to let everyone you know about the show. And say, hey, listen, it's just an hour out of your life every couple of weeks. You're going to do that just doom scrolling through Facebook anyway. You might as well have us on in the background. So, what does it hurt? Just have them give us a try. So, till the 13th, folks, I'm Shaggy.
I'm Colin.
I am Mike the 8 Man.
Stick a fork in us, folks. We are done. Later.